Kia ora, namaste, sat sri akal, adab, vanakkam, hello, and welcome to another beautiful session of India Live. As we promised, today we're going to meet a dynamic personality, especially living in Christchurch, and you must be familiar to this beautiful face. When we talk about any support to any other community or to, especially in Christchurch, we believe multicultural city and living in multicultural city, we have a great supporters from Labour Party as well, and none other than I won't take further long because I know we're already running behind. So I will introduce a handsome personality today for the day. Thank you so much, Dr. Webb, for joining us today. Thanks a lot.
Oh, namaste, and I'm embarrassed you're calling me on the media a handsome person. It's not. No, I don't usually get that kind of flattery. So thank you. You're very, very kind. But it's
Uh,
always good to be part of the community.
Thank you. Whenever I see you, we relate to some community events as well. We meet so many times, and you always bring a smile and fun on the stage as well, and behind the stage as well. So thank you for that. And thank you for giving us time today. I know I probably have flattered you enough in the beginning so that when I ask you grilling questions, you won't mind that.
I knew there was a reason for it. I knew it.
But jokes apart, when we talk about politics, it actually affects us every day, day to day. And sometimes we don't consider it so seriously. So that's why most of my questions will be related to the community. And being neutral, I believe it's kind of my responsibility to my listeners as well to ask those questions to you. I hope you won't
Right.
mind.
Of course not.
Thank you. So first of all, I do follow your Facebook and Instagram and all the time. And I love your red jacket, by the way, and I always saw you baking with, cupcakes. And unfortunately, on online session, I couldn't be in a chance to taste any of your beautiful sweetery. But when we talk about social media, you staying relevant to the youngsters, and how can we just being in touch and encourage the youngsters in the right directions?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for watching my Facebook, and I'll give you an invitation. If you want to come to my house, well, perhaps you could teach me to cook something traditional Indian, and we can do that on Facebook. That would be a lot of fun. But I
For
do
sure.
think, can I just say, I absolutely think that, I think that's a yes from you. I do think that making sure that young people are engaged is so important. And obviously using Facebook and Instagram, it's not something I naturally do, but it's really important to make sure you can get into everyone's homes or onto their phones or however they watch it. And the reason I do kind of that slightly silly but a lot of fun baking show is just so that people can listen to me talk a little bit about politics at the same time as doing something that they find is just approachable. And so and I love coming to your community events and many other community events for that same reason, so that people from any walk of life can see me, see that I'm just an ordinary person, can walk up and say to me, what do you think about this? Or is this the kind of problem that you can help with in your office? And usually, I'm happy to talk and help where I can. But I think being approachable and available and just being normal is a really important part of being a member of parliament. And of course, we've got diverse communities of all kinds. And it's really important that we recognise that whatever community you come from, your MP is your MP. And that my job is to be in it for you and look after the people in the community.
Yes, for sure. And yes, thank you so much, Dr. Webb. Well, I'll tell to my listeners, they are totally normal human being. We always meet them off stage and on stage. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to comment, put it in the comment section, and we can have a chat today. Very briefly, I have a couple of questions as well, Dr. Webb. First of all, you do great, and with your biking and sweets, sometimes there's another question that we have to be very careful, especially in the dental care in New Zealand, very expensive. And when you provide these sweet tray product, and I think a couple of days ago I saw Labour Party announce something dental related policy. What is that about?
Yeah, no, look, this we're really excited about this, and this will change so many people's lives. So what we want, I mean, ultimately, we think dental care should be free for all New Zealanders. So over time, we want to work on that, and the first step that we're going to commit to is to say we want to provide free dental care to everyone under 30. So if we get elected as government in this election, we will start rolling out free dental care for under 30. The first thing to do is get dentists in place. So we need to train more dentists. So that's part of the plan. But that under 30 dental care is the first step because we do know, as you point out, dentists are so expensive. And if your teeth go bad, when you're young, then it's with you forever. So the right place to start is for young people. And I know if you've got kids or young adults, you want them to look after their teeth so that they don't find themselves in their 30s or 40s or 50s and their teeth haven't been looked after. So that, and we know how tough things are at the moment in terms of making ends meet. And this is just one of the many things we're trying to do to say, these are some of the things we can help with, the government can help with, in meeting the costs, and dental care is one of them.
Yes, for sure. Because one of the most expensive thing in current New Zealand or any abroad country, especially when I compare to India, is the dental care, which gets really expensive. Now,
Yeah.
you said the Labour Party have promised, and I believe it gonna be in manifesto as well. Their policies, how you gonna make it more actable.
Yeah, that's right. So much more accessible. But whilst we'll start it year by year progressively, at the same time, 250 more dentists a year is what we want to train, so that people will be available to do that work as well. So fantastic, a fantastic initiative. Um, but we simply haven't got the dentists to do it all at
Yeah,
once. So that's part of
for
it. That's
sure.
part of the challenge.
So there's a starting point. So that's great step towards our future. When we talk about future and the policies, some way I believe, Dr. Webb. Now, don't take me wrong, but because I came from Auckland, from Northland as well, and started living now. Rolleston is my home since 2020. And I found the biggest difference is living in the same country. Still, sometimes we believe we get behind, and when we especially talk about the budgets, especially the GP cost, like which is very uh, small thing in everyday's life, but in Northland, the budgets get higher, and when we talk about the South Island, we some way get behind. Will there be any in the future? Will be some subsidies to think about for crashes, especially when we talk about Rolleston is one of the fastest booming town in this country, if
Yeah.
I'm not wrong.
Well, it's great to have you in Rolleston. And of course, when you drive between Christchurch and Rolleston, you're driving on one of the big, expensive motorways that the government has funded, although that was a different government. I mean, I do think we need to Christchurch, I don't think has been left behind by this government. If you look at certainly in Christchurch Central, where I, am the MP, the convention centre, the stadium, $220 million, cycleways, $130 million, new buses, $75 million. These are a lot of initiatives and we've got MPs. And I was at the surf club where Chris Hipkins was yesterday. That's another one that was rebuilt with help from the government. I think $7 million. I can't be sure about the exact figure. And I could actually go on and on with things that the government has given money to help out in Christchurch. So Christchurch has done. Christchurch and Canterbury has done pretty well. Ashburton Bridge, if you're travelling south, that one's going to be fixed. We've promised to do that under a Labor government. So there's a whole lot of initiatives. Of course, it's really important that local bodies make the decisions. Selwyn District Council here in Christchurch, Christchurch City Council, we want to help the local bodies make decisions. But in fact, Christchurch has done pretty well post-earthquake with lots of new infrastructure, and so has wider Canterbury. One of the big things, of course, if I could just sneak it in, is the discussion around rapid transit and the idea that maybe we need to think about, and there's a consultation which I think might just be closing on how we move people from one end of the city to the other and from south to north, whether we should be looking at mass rapid transit as our cities and our outlying towns like Rolleston, like Rangiora grow as well. So that's another thing we need to think about.
For sure. And yes, yesterday was one of the historical moment as well, where actually Prime Minister visited one of the local Gurdwara, and I got a
Yes,
lucky chance to meet him. And
yes,
that was like for something I've believed like we had made achievement as living in South Island, and now Prime Minister is community is growing, and everyone is believing that yes, we need these numbers to look after as well. And
yeah.
address their concerns. So that was one of the great initiative taken by Labour Party. So thank you so much.
Yes, and can I
One,
say he was
yes,
very,
yes.
very happy to go there. I've been there myself. I couldn't make it yesterday, but he was very excited to go there and very privileged to be accepted in and to sit with you and celebrate.
Yes, and after that, I did join your Labour Party rally as well, which was great in numbers, and see your supporters were great. Showing the support and love. When we talk about support and love, the first thing comes in the mind, Dr. Webb, is our family, our relations, your parents, or any loving, especially after COVID. We all believe we all learned the value of living close to our blood relations. And there's something, as living as a migrant, we always think like how we can bring our parents and live with us in their old age so that we can support them. This is one of the biggest concern, if I'm not saying wrong, in our Indian community. Will there be some policies, Labour Party looking into it?
Yeah. First of all, you know, I absolutely recognise the importance of family, and in my own family, my parents. I'm very lucky. My parents live in Christchurch, and I love. They don't live with me, but I love having them around. I love looking after them. I love visiting them, and having close ties to family and parents in particular. I think is something that crosses all cultures, and I know how important it is. In terms of our wider immigration policy, there is a parents visa category, and I'm sure you and many of your viewers know about it. And we adjusted that at the end of last year, so that the wage uh, the wage threshold, what you had to earn to be deemed to be able to support parents, was lowered, and it was able to be spread across different family members. So we've tried to make that a little bit easier. Um, I know that and can I just say, Priyanka Radhakrishnan is a real advocate here. She's obviously a member of the wider Indian community. Her family's from Kerala, and she's spoken very well and articulately about the need to accommodate migrants and their needs to be able to connect with their families.
Yeah.
I'm not in a position to announce any big policy changes here today, but I know we want to look at ways that we can make having connections with family easier, whether that be them moving here permanently under a parents category or even visiting more easily is the other thing. And
Yeah.
obviously we have, an immigration policy. It's really important to have a good one that doesn't put too much burden on New Zealand, but at the same time, recognises the important part that people who have come with their families to work in New Zealand play, and recognises their quite legitimate request to be able to have their family visit them or visit their own family elsewhere.
Yeah, well, I do appreciate that. Now, recently, they have Labour Party have announced that you're going to accept parents category residence visa, which was shut down back in 2012, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
It's great initiative, but when we talk about some migrants who still cannot afford Duncan, but they still want their parents to come and visit, probably a visitor visa for longer period. I know Honorable Priyanka Radhakrishnan, Ethnic Minister, she's doing great job, but just as a community member, we believe that as many voices can make this noise so that everyone can be on the same boat.
yeah, and whilst, as I say, whilst I can't tell any of our policies today, that's my Prime Minister's job.
Yeah.
But we are listening to that request. We've heard it, and it's been very clearly put, and we're sympathetic to making life a little easier around those kind of visits. Because I'm aware that a visitor visa at the current time is for a relatively short period of time, and having to go backwards and forwards is both expensive and very inconvenient.
It is, and especially when the older parents have to travel after 9 months back in, different climate to different climate, it also affects their health. When we talk about a country, New Zealand, a very peaceful country, and always it comes in my mind. I know Kiwi is a symbol, but a white pigeon, it comes in the mind whenever we talk about the New Zealand. But then there is a newses every day making headlines that ram rates and crime is increasing and homicidal, all these things which actually doesn't represent New Zealand but started growing so crazily. Is Labour Party looking into to do something to control these crimes?
Yeah, I want to acknowledge that there is a feeling of increased crime out there, and certainly there's been a bump, particularly around youth crime. Um, in in the long term, if you take sort of 5 and 10 year statistics, New Zealand is actually safer today than it has been. But just in the last sort of 6 months, maybe a year, we've seen a bump in these particular kinds of crimes, which are, youth related. And you probably know that a lot of it's not actually motivated by a desire to steal things which are valuable, but a desire to become, well known on TikTok or some other social media platform. So we need to really address what the causes of that are. So some of those crimes can be really serious and have massive impacts on people, and we absolutely need to address that. And there's a whole lot of things in terms of ram raids in particular that we've done in terms of assistance to making shops less attractive using bollards or fog cannons or whatever. But also there's other things we can do. We've committed to creating a new ram raiding offence. But I think really, and from my perspective, we need a whole of system approach. And there's a intervention that's been designed where the police don't just grab the kids and throw them in court, but they contact the schools, they contact welfare agencies, oranga tamariki, the health system, and understand what's going on. And we find that a lot of these kids come from houses which don't have enough food, or where they've fallen out of the schooling system, or where they've got some learning disability, or some other problem, which with a lot of attention can be addressed. So that we started that program last year, and what we are seeing is that kids that get onto that program are much less likely to reoffend. Something like 70% less likely than the other kids who aren't on that program. So the number of young people who are doing this is quite small. So we can, once we identify them and we get onto this, it's really, really useful. So that's because ultimately the best thing we could do is give the young people that kind of attention before they get onto the track of offending, and then the offence never happens. Because if we're doing it afterwards, we're kind of chasing our own tail. So, yes, we do want to find these offenders. We absolutely need to use the justice system for serious offending. But most of all, we want to stop reoffending, and we want to stop first time offending. And I think that's the best approach there. But feel very much for the people who don't feel safe in their homes, or don't feel safe, when they're at work in their shops. And we've got the police to do the job. We've got the more police per person in New Zealand than we've ever had before. But it's no good just chasing the problem. You've got to get to the root of it.
For sure. Now, I do understand that Labour Party is actually more concerned about New Zealand than ever we can talk about. But listening to Honourable Prime Minister yesterday in Labour Party rally in Christchurch, and there was quickly mentioned that there will be some rules to control fruits and veggie to be GST free. If I heard really correctly, because that would be great news for and every day we listen inflation and the increasing of price, especially in supermarkets. I believe they all these are the essential things. Fruits and veggie we cannot live without.
Yeah, look, this is just one of the things we're doing around food prices, right? Fruit and veggies are one of the most important, parts of our diet. Everyone, when they, at least I hope everyone, when they go to the supermarket, puts some fruit and veggies in their trolley. And we think we think people should be able to make good, healthy choices just a little bit cheaper. So this is going to take 15% off the cost of fruit and vegetables that you buy, both fresh, which are the best, but also frozen. And a lot of people, when it's winter, frozen vegetables in particular are a really good idea too. But can I just say that that's just one thing we're doing around supermarket prices. We're doing a whole lot of other stuff in terms of making sure that supermarkets deal with their customers fairly. The shelf price is fair and accurate, and that other people who want to sell groceries competitively can compete with supermarkets, because at the moment there's only two real supermarket chains and they're making a lot of money, and some of the costs that are going up are profits that are monopoly profits, are unfair profits, and we want to stop that. We want prices to be fairer.
Yeah, because you said very correctly, Dr. Webb, that sometimes it feels like if I'm, don't take me wrong, but the word comes as a mafia, especially for the supermarket, because there's no other competition and they can do whatever they want to. And that's what they will keep on doing in the past. So to put the stop on that, that's very essential and necessary, I guess.
Yeah, look, I won't call anyone a gangster, but but you're right that it's not fair, and the job of government is to make sure that markets are fair, and supermarkets are one of those things, uh, where everyone has to go and get food, and not everyone has the luxury of choosing this or that. Some people it's really tough to make ends meet, and they have to trade off between their fresh fruit and vegetables and their baby formula or whatever it might be that they need that week. And we want to make sure that those kind of decisions don't have to be made and that the prices at the supermarket are fair.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Webb. If any last message, if I missed anything, please, if you like to say something to our listeners, they're all your ears.
Well, I'll say two things. Firstly, I just want to recognise, the importance of the Indian community, but also the importance of India, and the fact that, on the back of our strong relationship with our Indian community, we want to build a stronger relationship with India as well, both across trade, but also culturally, educationally, and a whole lot of other stuff. And lastly, follow me on Facebook. Come and watch my baking show. And if you want to come and teach me some great Indian cooking, maybe some of those delicious Indian sweets, let's line up a date. That would be a lot of fun.
Cool, for sure. Probably my expertise is not in the sweet, but savory, definitely.
Oh, okay,
Can be a
we'll do
great
that
session.
too.
But thank you so much, Dr. Duncan Webb. And I hope I'll request to my listeners that I know these MPs, sometimes we feel like they are in higher position and how we can approach them. But please, 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 if you have any concerns, do approach them. They are there for us and they are happy to listen to us. Like today, Dr. Duncan Webb have given us enough time. So do approach and vote for whichever party, but do vote.
Please vote.
As a neutral person, I cannot say which color, but whatever your color is, just go and do show your numbers, because this is the biggest power we have in the democracy. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Duncan Webb, and look forward for another session of Picking with Duncan Webb. So this is MP from Honorable Dr. Duncan Webb from MP Christchurch Central. So listeners, I know ਆਪਾਂ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਅੱਜ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਥੋੜਾ ਮੇਰਾ ਹੱਥ ਤੰਗ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ, ਬਟ ਅਖੀਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੇਰੀ ਇਹੀ ਗੁਜ਼ਾਰਿਸ਼ ਰਹੇਗੀ, ਭਾਵੇਂ ਮੇਰੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਇਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਲੇਬਰ ਐਕਟ ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੈਂਡੀਡੇਟਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਕਰਾਈਏ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਮੁੱਦੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਐਕਚੁਅਲੀ ਇਫੈਕਟ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਉਠਾਉਣ ਦਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਹੱਕ ਵੀ ਬਣਦਾ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਮੇਰਾ ਫਰਜ਼ ਵੀ ਬਣਦਾ, ਪਰ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਆਪਣੀ ਵੋਟਾਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਦਿਓ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹੀ ਇੱਕ ਸਾਡੀ ਲੋਕਤੰਤਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡੀ ਪਾਵਰ ਹੈ। ਕੱਲ ਇੱਕ ਇਤਿਹਾਸਿਕ ਦਿਨ ਰਚਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਜਦ ਆਨਰੇਬਲ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਕ੍ਰਿਸ ਹਿਪਕਿੰਸ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਭਾ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਸਟ ਚਰਚ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਏ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਐਡਰੈਸ ਕੀਤਾ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੀ ਪੂਰੀ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੈਂਟ ਸੀਗੀ। ਇਟ ਵਾਜ਼ ਅ ਗ੍ਰੇਟ ਡੇ ਟੂ ਸੀ ਯੂਨਾਈਟਿਡ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਟੂਗੇਦਰ, ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਿ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਵੀ ਬੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ, ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਿੰਦੂ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਸਟ ਚਰਚ ਬਿਗੇਸਟ ਟੈਂਪਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬਣਨ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਗਣੇਸ਼ਾ ਜੀ ਦਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਆਰਗੇਨਾਈਜ਼ਰਸ ਵੀ ਉੱਥੇ ਸੀਗੇ। ਸੋ ਸਾਰੇ ਕੰਸਰਨਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਅਸੀਂ ਤਦ ਹੀ ਅੱਗੇ ਪਾਸ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਚਾਹੇ ਉਹ ਮੁੱਦੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਆਫਸ਼ੋਰ ਸਟਕ ਮਾਈਗ੍ਰੈਂਟਸ ਦੇ ਹੈ, ਭਾਵੇਂ ਉਹ ਮੁੱਦੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਕੈਟਾਗਰੀ ਵਿਜ਼ਿਟਰ ਵੀਜ਼ਾਸ ਦੇ ਹੈ, ਜਾਂ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਰੇਟ ਦੇ ਹੈ, ਜਾਂ ਇਨਫਲੇਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਹੈ। ਜੋ ਵੀ ਮੁੱਦਾ ਹੈ ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਉਠਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਜਦ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਾਵਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਹੱਥ 'ਚ ਹੋਵੇ, ਔਰ ਇਸ ਵਕਤ ਪਾਵਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਹੱਥ 'ਚ ਹੈ। ਵੋਟ ਆਣੇ ਹੈ, ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਵੋਟ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਦਿਓ, ਜਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਦਿਓ, ਪਰ ਆਪਣੀ ਗਿਣਤੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਕਰਾਓ। ਤਦ ਤੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਜੀ ਰੱਬ ਰਾਖਾ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦਿਓ ਇਜਾਜ਼ਤ। ਅਗਲੇ ਸੈਸ਼ਨ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਇੱਕ ਬੜੇ ਹੀ ਪਿਆਰੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ। ਸੋ ਸਟੇ ਟਿਊਨ, ਵਿਲ ਬੀ ਬੈਕ ਸ਼ਾਰਟਲੀ। ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਸੋ ਮਚ।